This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
All the dish that's fit to air. Cindy Adams is on 77 WABC.
Do not be a turkey, children. It is Thanksgiving coming up this week. So I will talk to you about the holiday. It's Thursday. It's a Mazel Tov. It's a Wunderbar. Why the Pilgrims were thankful, this I know. Who wouldn't want to get off that damn ship? But for us non-pilgrims, the best thing to give thanks for is that it's another 364 days until you have to see those relatives again. I mean, really, you could go crazy when they all show up for dinner. There's the uncle who vacuums up all the dark meat, the brother-in-law who skims all the marshmallows off the sweet potato pie. How is being locked in a room with a cousin whose zenith was being a lifeguard in a car wash and whose entire career consists of borrowing money from you? Maybe you have a higher class of relatives than I do. It's just that I don't love the whole family. It's all relative. And the kids. People want to have children, fine. Me, I didn't, or I'd have had them. I don't even want them at dinner. Maybe over a snack, a lunch snack. That's short. Maybe even through 3 courses. But during a whole Thanksgiving meal? So, my husband's nephew's wife's aunt got pregnant because she felt there might be something meaning in our lives. Right. Privacy and sanity. Then a couple of years after that, she brought her 8-year-old whose mouth never shut. Even when she chewed through the stuffing, she still kept talking. Seems the problem was her shoes were too tight. I finally got sick of her and her. And I advised her to fold her toes. Look, I'm not so crazy about my college-type kinfolk either. Like my Ivy League relative who can now write on bathroom walls in Latin. So what? So he just made the Yale Pocket team. Actually, I think it was the Yale Picket team. Anyway, I had enough of the relatives. Right away, I told one of them, Fido, down on the paper. Remember, Mom did the whole thing by herself a couple of holidays ago. And they bring animals. The animals are not friendly. The animals don't remember all about the Indians and the stuffed pie. They just come and they're pains in the ass. And what can I tell you? I even have trouble with my wardrobe on Thanksgiving. You cannot wear wool because the old folks won't let anyone open a window. You can't wear cotton because the young folks think you're getting hot flashes. You want to wear something special so the in-laws know you're doing well. But you can't wear something too good or they'll put the arm on you. So the holiday comes up this week, and I haven't yet decided where I'm going to have turkey. The problem is I'd really prefer to eat junk food. Then, as my husband once said, so why don't we eat at home? So listen, Thanksgiving, have a happy one, all of you. I'm going onward. Listen, Watch. If Trump stops peeing on Hegseth and Gates, let Mother tell you that next up is Elon. You want to talk about a turkey coming up? It's going to be Elon. While called to head the USA efficiency, whatever that once was, Elon's efficiency op has a few of its own insufficiencies. One New York City lawyer, known to me personally, just ordered a Tesla. With it came phone calls, texts, messages, and those bulletins on the Tesla app because the car had little hang-ups. Nobody understood why. And nobody understood what the other half on the other side of the phone was saying. One employee said, "Turn the car in. There will be no penalty." Another employee said, "He's going to have to pay thousands of bucks in penalty." A third caller said, who took his complaints, "We're going to look into it." And the last call Testa Twit took never even returned the lawyer's call. So a blessing on Elon's head, mazel tov, and may he have a good Thanksgiving. Okay, now we're into, listen, it's another lawsuit involving Puff Daddy. Are you going to believe this? It was recently filed in District Court, Southern District of New York. 7 plaintiffs, including lawyer Gloria Allred, for defamation, emotional distress, negligence, vexatious litigation, abuse of process, and malicious persecution, all for stating, without proof, that Joseph Sherman, quote, this is the identical quote, viciously raped Thalia Groves in 2001 while working for P. Diddy, and that she was, quote, restrained and brutally assaulted. It goes on. It states that bodyguard Sherman never met Thalia Graves, let alone raped her, and stopped working for Sean Combs in 1999. Item 7 said, Thalia Graves' lawyers promise to not destroy Sherman's life with lies so long as he serves as witness against Sean Combs. In a pre-trial email, Sherman replied, "Listen, guys, I know nothing of you. You are on my phone. You are threatening my life, my livelihood, my safety. I never did anything to you, nor seen you in my life." So that's what's going on in a courtroom on Thanksgiving. Now I maybe would like to say a word about our government. Our Democrats omitted population chunks, elders, patriots, blue collars, vets, deeply religious, about as acceptable to them as a skunk at a garden party. Will we ever get them back? It's iffy. They have gone away for good. Maybe they're going to create their own party. Who knows? Former evangelicals warned of dangerous, false teaching, quote unquote, that threaten the gospel of all the Democrats. And will they ever come back? Questionable. Former Dems are using those issues and facing evangelical order that might have misrepresented gospel away from the grace of God. Perhaps they should have been listened to with greater respect. I don't mean you have to wear stained glass contacts, but patriots exist who share religious beliefs. Listen, there's lots of issues that are going on in Washington. A great many of them. We have chunks of elders, patriots, blue collars, vets, deeply religious, about as acceptable to each other as a skunk at a garden party. I don't know if we are ever going to get everyone back together again. Lots of issues are favoring religion. For instance, priests have the country's lowest divorce rate. For sure. I'm going on. I want to tell you now about Biden. He calls Mitch McConnell kid. In a picture of the Last Supper, he was third from the right. That's what I'm talking to you about Biden. I am also about to tell you that a Moscow voting booth sign says, "Check the box for communist." The life you save might be your own. Ireland keeps all bars open election day. Why? Because nobody in that area can vote for anybody that's sober. And even U.S. candidates want to pretty up. The reason being, many wind up there. How about Schumer, who knows to err is human? To blame the other guy is anti-Semitism. And one newbie once said, "My campaign needs $10 million. His chairman said, "But it doesn't cost that much." The newbie said, "Yeah, I know, but if I lose, I'll need that much to live on comfortably." Adam Bullshiff, whom I love like I love athlete's foot. He had a troubled life as a kid. Okay by me. So you forget his faults. His parents only agreed to stay together for the sake of the dog. And Biden's next limo? It will be marked Far Lawn. Mr. Biden's attention-grieving wife next writes a book. It will describe the rigors of politics, the difficulties, how much she had to work, the problems. The title of the forthcoming book, quote, "Women are from Bloomingdale's." I mean, really, they didn't do a damn thing. And Kamala's lumpy, dumpy VP choice just made a heroic speech. He said, "The military must pitch in, or we won't have a pot to pitch in." Rumor is, another rumor, unfounded, but a rumor is that Robert F. Kennedy's bed has a sign over his bed that says it advertises group rates. It's not true, but I like the line. I am not anti-Mike Pence. I just think it's his veins that keep him from being completely colorless. And Bernie Sanders, oh please, Bernie Sanders, his memorial services have yet to be announced. And what's to say about Kamala that hasn't already been said about hazardous waste? More. Millions of nameless migrants have traveled to D.C. just to find warmth in the congressional hot air. I am coming to a station break shortly, But before I come to this station break, I want to tell you one thing about Pete Buttigieg. His age is 11. He has a husband that he met on the internet. He was mayor of South Bend, Indiana, which has a population of 8 and is now on the White House lawn. The question is, why? As for great political wisdom, Woody Allen said to me, a man kills for food, not just food. Also, there has to be a beverage. But let us not knock whatever remains of Biden. He never joined Alcoholics Anonymous. Each time he took the 12-step program, he fell down every one of them. But he knows his capacity, though it may be all he knows. It's never favoring Biden. I'm not doing that. I'm just sorry to see him leave. He was once a world-class organist. Then what happened was a strange thing. His monkey died, and so he was out of the business. Like I'm saying, it is time for a quick station break, and then more about Thanksgiving, and I shall be back.
A name you know who's in the know. It's the Cindy Adams Show, 77 WABC.
So Ryan Walters, this is an A#1 high-class historian. Maybe you can tell me, Ryan, what are the origins of Thanksgiving? We've all heard about the stupid turkey. We've all heard about everything else. But how accurate is the popular narrative?
Well, that's the thing that with historians, history is not cut and dried. That's one of the issues that historians deal with all the time. People think history is just, names and dates and facts, and we're all agreement on it, but we're not. And so the origins of Thanksgiving really in the United States it's a little muddled. I mean, Massachusetts takes credit for it, the Pilgrims and their first feast in 1621, and there's documentary evidence for that, and a lot of it coincided with fall festivals and fall harvest. But it goes back further than that. I mean, it's been going on for centuries before Europeans ever came to America. Of course, Virginia also takes credit for it. Virginia was settled in 1607, and they had fall festivals as well, and it included Native Americans. So there's kind of a little bit of a battle between the two colonies over who originated it. And even the Spanish in St. Augustine, Florida, they claim it going back to the 1560s. So it's not cut and dried, and it's a fun little argument. I mean, we have a lot of fun with it. So and I think you should give both of them credit. President Kennedy gave both credit.
What actually was the 1621 feast, or whatever the hell it was, in Plymouth? We're touring around there. What was it?
Yeah, well, they had a fall feast there, and it was a day of Thanksgiving. Again, you got to remember the Pilgrims and later the Puritans were very religious people who came to America for religious reasons, and so they wanted to set aside a day for Thanksgiving and prayer and that kind of thing. And they put together a fall feast, which was a tradition, again going back to Europe. And of course, we have some accounts of it. William Bradford's account when he wrote of Plymouth Plantation, and he specifically mentions turkeys. I mean, there's some historians that don't believe that, but he mentions wild turkeys and other types of fowl and the things that they ate. So, yeah, turkey was a part of it going back to the early days. And you find it in historical.
Now, I am not such a great historian, as of course are you, but didn't Abraham Lincoln play something in establishing Thanksgiving?
Yes, ma'am, he did. He was the one that really started it as far as an official holiday. Now, President George Washington, issued a proclamation for a day of Thanksgiving in the fall of 1789 in his first year, and he did it right there in New York City because that was the first capital of the country for the first year. And he attended services there at St. Paul's, and didn't really take hold. Some presidents did it, some presidents didn't do it. Lincoln did it officially during the war in 1863 as a way to try to unify the country and to end this bloody, terrible Civil War. And he issued an official proclamation for the fourth Thursday in November as a day of prayer and thanksgiving. And it became an official holiday in 1871 when President Grant signed a law decreeing it a federal holiday. So we've celebrated it officially ever since 1871.
Okay, so how did traditions like turkey, which is so dry, you have to kill yourself eating the stupid turkey, and pumpkin pie, how did it become the official food?
Well, looking at the historical record, that was what they ate, particularly the Pilgrims did, and they had pies and green beans and even, cranberries and all that stuff. So it's really, been the traditional meal. Not everybody does it. I mean, a lot of people don't like turkey. My father has the same attitude of turkey you have. I mean, he doesn't really like it. He likes ham.
It's lousy. Yeah. Okay. I'd rather have a veal cutlet. Okay. I understand. But nobody has told me, including you, sir, were turkeys the ones schlepping around the Northeast? Is that it? Mm-hmm. How did they get a turkey?
Yeah, they were certainly, as William Bradford writes, he said it was a great store of wild turkeys. I mean, turkeys was very plentiful, and they found it to be good eating. As a matter of fact, Benjamin Franklin wanted to make that the official mascot or bird of the country instead of the eagle. We would have had a wild turkey, which would have been quite interesting. But the turkeys were plentiful, and they were, and so that was sort of the tradition. I mean, Lincoln had turkeys. Apparently, Lincoln, was the first president to pardon a turkey. Somebody had given him a couple of turkeys to have for the Thanksgiving feast that year, and his son was playing with it. Apparently, his son Tad, and named it Jack, and didn't want him to slaughter it and eat it. So apparently, Lincoln, as the story goes, actually pardoned the turkey, and so we get that tradition of presidents pardoning a turkey, and now they send them to zoos and stuff. So it's been a big part of American culture.
Do you think they're also going to pardon Hunter Biden that way?
That's going to be fun to watch. We'll have to see what happens with that between now and January the 20th.
Oh my God. Okay, let's start with you. Where did you come from? Who are you that you became such a high class historian?
Well, amazingly, I'm actually a product of South Mississippi, but even though I live in Texas now, in the Lone Star State, but yeah, I come from Mississippi, and I teach at a college here in Texas, and a lot of people say, well, why do you love history so much? I said, well, I couldn't do math, and so I could do history, and I just stuck with it. So that's basically my life, writing and doing history and teaching.
How were you in school learning history? Did you flunk or did you get an A?
No. I loved history. Now, them other classes, now my science and math, that record is kind of doesn't ever need to be revealed, but it was pretty bad. I struggled through that. But, everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. That's what I try to teach my students. Find what you're very good at and do it. And that's what I did. I love to write, love to research, love to go to archives, love to read. So that's what I do.
So tell me, okay, we're into Thanksgiving because we're supposed to. So what happens? Do sins accumulate on your forehead if you eat a lamb chop instead of the lousy turkey?
No, ma'am. You can have whatever you want. A lot of people, particularly down in the South, a lot of people do fish. They have fried fish and hush puppies and all that kind of stuff. They don't do turkey and things. So everybody just kind of does their own thing. And there's no, I'm more of a traditionalist, just being a historian. I like the traditional, but you can have a lamb, you can have whatever you like. I mean, it's about Thanksgiving, it's about being with your family, and you don't have to worry about, it's not like Christmas where you got to worry about presents and all these things. It's about camaraderie and seeing your family and spending time with them and being thankful for what you have. And I think that's really the point of it. It's just that you're together and you can lay politics aside, lay your differences aside, and spend some time together and be thankful for what you have. And I think that's the real point of it.
How about Native American communities? Mm-hmm. How did they celebrate, or how do they celebrate it?
Well, interestingly, some of them don't like to celebrate Thanksgiving because of what happened to them over the years. And you can go back to the first Thanksgivings there in Plymouth and in Massachusetts Bay, and then even in Virginia, where supposedly the Native Americans were part of it, and there's accounts of that. But later on, all of that broke down, and there was wars and violence and attempts at extermination and that kind of thing. And so a lot of Native American groups do not. They actually celebrate days of humiliation and stuff. They don't like it. But some do. There are others. The Seminoles do. Some of the Lakota out in the West celebrate Thanksgiving. So some do, some don't, and it just really depends on their attitude about it. Some of them think it's a bad thing and it's celebrating genocide and that kind of thing. So that's a little murky as well. Again, some do, some don't.
Okay, Native American communities from which we do not get too much information, how do they participate in early harvest celebrations?
Well, they did, and they were part of, particularly William Bradford talks about it on Plymouth Plantation as Native Americans. And they were important because you remember the colonists came to this new land in both Virginia and in Massachusetts in 1620, in the early 17th century, and really had no idea what they were doing, to be honest. And a lot of them died. I mean, they started dying off. There's some friendly Native American groups that helped them out, showed them what to plant, how to plant it, how to rotate fields, clear fields. And so they were extraordinarily beneficial because Indians were superb agriculturalists. And the colonists learned a lot and really were saved from utter destruction from starvation. That nearly happened in Virginia. They had a situation called a time called the starving time, where a lot of the 2/3 of the early settlers died, and they even resulted in cannibalism to try to survive. So friendly tribes helped them out. Of course, sadly, a lot of that broke down. They ended up fighting, and we have a history of that for the next 200 plus years.
Yeah, we've got it in Washington now. Okay. Yeah. So what about what was the actual meal? What did they eat for? And when? Just describe the first Thanksgiving with the Pilgrims. Can you?
Sure. Just exactly like a lot of families today. They had it outside, and they had an abundance of not only turkeys but different kind of fowl. There were other birds that they ate, but a lot of the traditions that we have, they had even pumpkin pie. They had green beans. They had cranberries. They had potatoes. Potatoes is a native cultigen of America. They don't have it in Europe. Sweet potatoes and regular potatoes, that was something that was sent to Europe. Europe had no clue those things even existed. They were native here. And so they learned how to eat those as well. So a lot of the same things that we have, corn and what they called maize, corn on the cob, that was also a big part of it because that was one of the main crops that Native Americans not only grew in abundance but showed the colonists how to grow. And you can do so much with corn, meal, and that kind of thing. So corn was a big part of it. It was really the chief subsistence crop in colonial America for centuries.
So what happened that it became a national holiday? It wasn't at the beginning. How did that happen?
Well, Lincoln, and of course, being in the middle of the Civil War, made an official proclamation. As I said, Washington did it, but Washington only did it 2 times. Adams did it a couple of times. Thomas Jefferson didn't do it at all. And so you had some presidents that did it and some of them didn't do it. But Lincoln felt the need to do it in 1863 after a terrible year, a few months after Gettysburg. He'd given a Gettysburg address and that kind of thing. But to issue a proclamation to try to unify the country. And that's when it became really official. It didn't come into law until 1871. But from that point on, it became a tradition that we stuck to every single year. As I said, Grant signed a law to make it an official holiday. So we do it every year. And, of course, Americans, we've done a very good job of adding to it. It's not just a meal. Now we have the parades, like the Macy's parade that's been here for 100 years. And we've added football to it and all that kind of good stuff. So but that's the kind of the idea that it's a national celebration. It's time to put aside our differences and be thankful for what we have.
Okay. What are the misconceptions that historians need to debunk?
Well, again, when you read about Thanksgiving, there's a lot of different stories and things. There's some historians that claim the whole thing is a myth, that it was created later. because of the ugliness between European colonists and Native Americans fighting and killing each other, that they created this myth of a Thanksgiving that, well, we got along at the start, but it was, the Indians got ugly and we had to deal with them. Kind of a way to excuse it. At least we tried early on. But again, you can look at some of the accounts, particularly from Massachusetts, and they write about that. They write about having a festival, having Native Americans be a part of it, eating a meal together and things like that. So again, you can really go down a rabbit hole when you start studying this, because there's so many different opinions on it. And again, a lot of things are not necessarily in the record. Lincoln pardoning the turkey is not in the presidential record, but a White House reporter talked about it 2 years later, which gives people kind of a pause that maybe did he make that story up? So, I mean, Lincoln never talked about it and nobody around him, but that's been handed down as a sort of a tradition. We pardon a turkey.
So, Ryan, what actually did the Native American communities do? How did they participate in the early harvest celebrations? What do we know about the actual meal shared in the 1620 feast in Plymouth?
Well, again, mainly what we have is just from Bradford's account and other accounts of some of the foods that they had, like wild turkeys and other fowl and venison. They talk about corn and things like that, and those types of things. Even fish. They fished a lot in Massachusetts as well. So the Native Americans were invited to celebrate with them, to eat with them, to sit down together, and try to be civil for one another. Because a lot of Native American tribes weren't real happy when these white dudes showed up with their ships and started making settlements. But and particularly in Virginia, there were problems down there. Of course, you know the story of Pocahontas and all of that. And so that had to be worked out. And so they looked at that as a way to smooth things over, to invite your neighbors to sit down and give thanks with you and eat this meal. Fish, turkey, all that kind of stuff. And it was probably a lot of different foods.
Well, I would certainly hope so, because that white meat is really lousy. So tell me about what kind of a dinner is Ryan Walters going to have? This high-class historian, yeah.
Well, I'm going to have a traditional meal. I like turkey. I really like turkey.
But God. You're the one. You're the only one. Yeah. What are you going to have?
We have the traditional meals. We have a turkey, chicken, ham. We have green beans, and I don't like cranberry sauce. I don't get near that. But mashed potatoes and corn, and we have of course in the South we like pecan pie down here, so we'll have pecan pie and some pumpkin pie and that kind of stuff, and potato salad, and so we have an abundance of stuff. But we kind of keep it traditional. We don't go. We don't change it very much. Never have. We don't eat catfish or anything like that. Like a lot of Mississippians like catfish on Thanksgiving, but that just doesn't fit for me. As a historian, I got to stick with tradition.
What do you do with the leftovers, honey? I mean, I've eaten leftover turkey back in February. So, I mean, what do you do with it?
Give it away. I mean, we got a lot of, the family comes over and everybody takes a little bit home with them. And, I can't eat stuff every single day. I get tired of it too. So, I'll eat a turkey sandwich, but then I'm about done with it after that. So let all our relatives take it home and enjoy it too.
Okay. I guess I can't ask you for anything else. Is there any Thanksgiving story that you know that you want to share with us before I throw you the hell off?
Well, I love the presidential history, and I study presidential history, and I really love the idea of pardoning the turkey. And of course, one of the things that President Kennedy did in 1963 was to declare that both Virginia and Massachusetts share in this history, and it's a shared history and not a rivalry. And I think that was a right thing to do, and that because it's become an American tradition, and it's an American holiday. It's not a Southern holiday. It's not a Northern holiday. It's an American holiday, and I think that's the real point of that.
Okay, I don't know what else to ask you besides, would you like to take some turkey hash home the next day from my house? That's about all I would like to ask you, and I'm going to be stuck with you at the next holiday as well. Thank you, Ryan, for coming on with me. You were adorable. Thanks, honey.
You're welcome. Very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.